All right, there we go. Okay, thank you for making it to our Hack to School love letters. I'm really, really excited. I'm Sarah Kesty. I am a veteran educational specialist, so a teacher um, for 17 years. And then I just recently went full time with coaching and advocacy because it was my way to serve a broader audience and sort of affect systemic change rather than just at my school site. Not that there's anything wrong with teaching at a school site either. It just wasn't for me anymore in terms of the broader impact that I was seeking. And speaking of broad impact, our moderator tonight is Barnett, who is a teacher, an amazing teacher at that, and a tech expert who is going to be managing the chat, sharing links, all that kind of stuff. And she and I collaborate a lot, so we are lucky to have her. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sarah. I know I'll be just here on video, but I am here, but I do want you to know that I don't think I can respond in the chat box.
Okay, let me put it on to everybody. That's interesting. And then Sadie had a quick question too. I wonder if it's not allowing anybody to chat. So I'm just going through and clicking chat on them, and then let me know if that's helpful. And Sadie, if you want to talk, I unmuted you. If you wanted to ask your question, because I saw your hand up. Or were you alerting me to the fact that
something popped up on my screen?
What, honey?
Something popped up on my screen.
Something popped up on your screen. Can you read it to me, love?
Oh, it just went down.
Did it? Okay, good. Are you all set now?
Yeah.
Awesome, sweet pea. Will you go ahead and mute again, honey, so that just in case the dogs bark, you're good? Thank you, sweet pea. Okay, hopefully that will help with the chat. And then just like Sadie did, Sadie, awesome job being a self-advocate and raising your hand and showing to everybody that when you raise your hand, you get the help you need. Right on, girl. I am proud of you already.
Sarah, really quick.
Yeah.
Since the chat's not working, the Q&A does work. So I know Tina has been typing in the Q&A. So if anybody posts a question or a comment in the Q&A, I'm able to respond to them there.
I appreciate that. Okay, so we're just going to go with Q&A. And then can you, when you put it in chat, Angela, does everybody see it or just you?
In the Q&A, it looks like everybody will see it.
Okay. But we're just gonna go with Q&A then. How about that? We'll treat it as our chat tonight. I don't even see where I can enable it. So strange. All right, I'm not gonna waste your time with tech stuff. We figured out a way. That's why Angela is here. And you know what? Human moment. Here it is. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and get going. But just like Sadie, again, thank you. You demonstrated that it's the right thing to do to ask a question when you need an answer. And it doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't offend me if it feels like an interruption. It's not at all. It just is a way to get your help. And probably at least 5 other people have the same question as you. So you're being a helper for yourself and for others, which is a really big deal. Okay. I put on the subtitles to model a way to support executive function because sometimes we need to be able to see things rather than only hear them. So you have the subtitles available for you just as an example of a way to help and as a way to learn a little bit easier. Plus, if you are a teacher or you are like good buddies with a teacher that has your child, it's a great opportunity. If you use PowerPoint, it automatically subtitles as you teach. Isn't that cool? So just another way to kind of take advantage of technology to sort of like augment some of the challenges that we have with executive function. And when I'm on full screen, I'm not seeing my Zoom. So Angela, will you unmute? Let me know. Can you guys see the shared screen right now?
Yes, and the captions, everything looks great.
Yay. Okay, cool. Can you still see me or can I make funny faces?
I see you. You're drinking from your mug.
Darn it. Okay. No weird things yet. I mean, no weirder than this. It gets weirder, but hard to believe. Okay, I introduced us already, so I'm gonna skip on forward. Oh, cool. No, I'm not. There we go. I swear I'm good at technology. This is a fluky night. Okay, so kids, you're on here going like, okay, Sarah might be my buddy. Maybe I'm coaching you right now, but also if you don't know me, why did your parent drag you to this thing, right? With this silly lady and her best friend talking to you. Well, here's the deal. Why should you listen? Because I get you. I get kids like you. I love kids like you. And I've got some awesome hacks to make this school year your best yet. I also taught for 17 years, so I have the teacher perspective. I am also someone with a disability. So instead of having a difference in the way that I learn, I have a difference in the way that I move. And I have a disease called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. I don't know if the captions will spell it right. It did. Wow. And this disease hurts the coating, the protective coating around my nerves, which makes my nerves die. And it's especially bad in my hands and feet. So I've had 15 surgeries and lots of invisible struggles, pain and stuff. So I'm someone who gets what it's like to try your very best and still kind of be misunderstood. So that's why, listen, I got good ideas and I get you. Spots where you can get more help would be the Executive Function podcast, which I host. And if you're joining here because you found me on TFOS, the online Executive Function Summit with Seth Perler, Seth and I have a couple co-hosted episodes on that podcast. And then I also have the IEP OMG show, where I sort of Sherpa parents through the 504 and IEP process, since I've written probably 3,000 IEPs and several hundred 504s. So I've got a good insider knowledge of kind of what to listen for and what to put in to make a really good plan that actually happens, right? So that is me and kids. That's why this will be worth your time. Okay, so I had a principal who said everyone likes to tune in to WIIFM. And what he meant was we all tune into what's in it for me, right? So what's in it for you is a way to hack your brain chemicals to make it a better school year. What's in it for you is to get your teacher to super love you and your brain and all the cool ideas that you bring, even if you students a little bit differently. And what's in it for you is hope. Because I know if you're anything like me or the people I coach or my former students, back to school is not a like really exciting target ad level of like, cool, I get a new backpack and away I go. There's probably some big feelings around it. And that's okay. You can kind of double dip in the excitement and the nervous and still set yourself up for a really good year. So there's lots of hope, and I'm going to teach you things you can do right now before you go back to school. Or if you just started this week, you still got plenty of time to kind of adjust and see what you can do. Okay? So what's in it for you? Lots of good stuff. Here's how to make the most of our time together. First thing, I'm giving you full permission to self-regulate for your energy and your attention. So if you're like me, I'm standing right now because usually standing helps me kind of have more ways to move. If you have a body that needs to move, go ahead and test that out while you're watching. If you have a body that needs some pressure, maybe sit on your hands or find a way to get a squeeze. If you have a body that needs to play with something, maybe hold a pen or a pencil or anything that you have available to fidget. I would say don't do this, because even though it feels good, can you guess why that might not work in a classroom? So start practicing regulating your energy as you're paying attention to this as a practice for getting ready for school. So anything you can do to get your energy and attention here without disrupting people around you, let's use this as a chance to try. Okay, what you're going to need, and it's okay to walk away real quick and get them, would be something to write on and something to write with, and your calendar system, which could be on your phone, on your computer, or even paper pencil. Okay? Another way to make the best of this is stay for the whole time. And then, as a bonus strategy, I want to teach you about your brain janitors. And your brain janitors are actually part of your lymphatic system. So you have your lymphatic system throughout your body that kind of takes care of the toxins and things you don't need and helps you flush it out through sweat, through pee, and through poop. Well, you also have a system that goes through your brain and gets rid of things that you don't need, maybe things that are like extra, like what you had for lunch, or things that won't affect you in the future that you can just get out of your memory. Well, here's the tricky part. That system that goes through your brain, those brain janitors that kind of clean up, they don't really see the difference between what you learned at school and what you played in a video game. And they're going to get rid of anything that you haven't practiced and you haven't marked as important. So things that stick in your memory are things that you've repeated a lot, which, probably is video games at some point, and things that you've had big feelings about, or you've told yourself this matters. So a way to communicate with your brain janitors is to review things in the evening, close-ish to bedtime, to where your brain janitors are going to be like, oh yeah, she reminded me this was important. And it's way more likely to stick overnight. And in fact, some research is showing that actually helps it stick longer in your brain, like move from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. Pretty cool, huh? So you get like a free bonus study session in the evenings if you just do it a little bit before you go to sleep, and then your brain janitors don't take it away. So you can try that with this tonight, kind of revisit, talk to your parents about what you saw, or parents talk to your kids about what you saw, and just reinforce it, get it to stick. Okay. Are there questions going on so far?
So far, no. If anybody has a question, go ahead and post in the Q&A. Oh, I see one. Let's see. Yvonne is sharing that her 12-year-old daughter would really benefit from this. She is away at overnight camp. Will this be recorded so she can see it when she comes back?
Absolutely. Hi, Yvonne's daughter. Now I hope she's not embarrassed by that. Yes, I hope camp was super fun, and now you're watching this on video. So what I'm going to do, everybody who's here live, I'm going to use the very same link that you used to log in, but it will be rerouted to the Google Drive where this video will be housed. Isn't technology cool? So hang on to that link. Angela will put it in the chat. It's the bit.ly B2S, like back to school letters. And you can reuse that link. By Sunday, I'll have this posted up, and then you'll have that available for you for reference for looking at it.
And then another participant is sharing that she's in her 40s and that she is loving the brain janitors.
Yay! I know, isn't it cool? I love this stuff too, because every time I learn a hack, I'm like, up level my life. There's just always room. It's like the strategy playground. Good. I'm so glad that that's helpful. Technically, it's called pruning in your brain, but I like brain janitors with sticks, Okay. I'm going to give you 2 mindset tools real quick to help lighten your perspective, help you feel proud of you, and help you kind of have a new set of ways to think about school as you start this year. Okay, the first one is, if you're here as a student, chances are you are a very smart kid and not so hot at student. And I want to have you separate those, because this is such a tricky space to be in. Because you're super smart and playing the school game is really tricky, really confusing, frustrating, all of that. So we've got to separate those two. Being smart means that you are a great learner. It means that you can extend your learning. You're the one who has great ideas in class. And yet, the pace of class is slow for you. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, teacher, why are you doing that? Like, let's go. Or you look at an assignment and you're like, why do I have to do this? Let's waste my time. And then if you're like a lot of the kids I know, you maybe even say that out loud and get in trouble because you're critically thinking constantly. And sometimes that means challenging teachers. And as a former teacher and as one who loves a lot of friends who are teachers, I've seen a lot of teachers get very upset when they're questioned. So we've got to learn some tools around that. It doesn't mean that they're always right. It just means that there's a way to say it without getting in trouble. But if you're a smart kid, chances are you're able to zoom out and look at the work and be like, I don't need this, right? And then that gets you in trouble. So food for thought on that one. But you also might be a smart kid with limited executive function. And what that means is things like planning, organizing, figuring out where to be, having a pencil, charging your iPad. All those things might be like up in the clouds difficult for you, but you could like give an oral dissertation on cellular respiration because you read it once and you got it. And that disconnect, like, how come you're so smart at this and struggle so hard with that? That disconnect can feel really clunky and yucky. So I want you to know that having challenges with your executive function and things like that it's very legit. It's based on your brain. It's not a character flaw or something that you're choosing to do. Just a little bit of a struggle, not a little bit. That's dismissive. It's a massive struggle when you're in school, and yet it can be strategized and learned. Okay, the difference between smart and studenting. Studenting is about playing the school game, right? So it's completion, it's compliance. It's sort of like gathering points, like, oh, I turned in this, I got 10 points. Oh, I turned in that, I got 5 points. It doesn't really emphasize learning as much to be good at studenting. And it might even irritate you when your teachers say, like, why don't you just, or how come you can't? Because you're like, that has nothing to do with learning, right? Studenting has a lot of invisible expectations that get harder every school year. And the trickiest part is your teachers expect it, but they don't often teach you how. So when I was recently teaching last year, I was teaching in a 7th grade classroom. And a lot of the times I heard things like, well, you should be able to write in a planner, or you should have remembered your test, right? Well, where were the lessons on that? How did you ever learn to do that? And that's where the strategies and mindset come in. If it's a skill, like writing your planner, reminding yourself of tests, skills can be learned. And remember, practice is going to stick in your brain more than time. And that's it. So one of our strategies tonight, these love letters to your teachers, is just a little part of what's available to help you learn these student skills. Okay, a couple more things. Schools value studenting. Oftentimes they reward studenting more than they actually reward smart. They want kids that are easy students. And so you may have some friction with your teachers or a few teachers. And again, that's not you being a bad human. That's a clash with the space that you're in right now. And that stinks. And people like Angela and I are working on changing that. But in the meantime, let's use some strategies so playing the school game is easier for you. All right. Any questions about this first mindset hack? We're going to take school and studenting, or smart and studenting, separate them out, and then think about how you can up-level your playing the school game with strategy.
Okay, just a lot of positive affirmations, just stating that they're really enjoying the information that you're providing. But if anybody has a question that they want to share now or a comment, and if not, that's okay.
Totally. And
All
I'll
right.
take compliments. I'll take compliments.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of compliments. So, all right, let's keep going.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, mindset tool number 2 is to play what if. Okay, so last year was last year. And if you had some bumps in the road, let me just validate you here. Angela and I both would probably say it was one of the hardest years at school. It was really, really tough. So from the student end, if last year was like a train wreck on fire, we're going to leave it in the. And we're going to use the mindset tool of what if. So what if this is a brand new year and I've got strategies and hacks to make it work better? What if I gamify this and instead of feeling victimized by it, like, oh, school's so hard, my teachers hate me, what if I start taking on the approach of like, what am I missing? Where's my cheat code? How could I, not cheating on tests, but like, you know how you can enter a cheat code and get extra armor in a game or something like that? Not cheating on a test. But like, where's my my secret strategy? Where's my secret menu to be able to like level up my students? And what I love is the idea that this year is like a strategy playground. And you get to decide, okay, I actually get why being organized might help because I won't lose stuff and then I won't lose points because I lose stuff. So, all right, take me to Office Depot. I want to see what they got so I can like figure out a strategy that works for me. That's a super different feel to like, what if there is something that helps me be organized rather than like, I'll never do this. This is too hard. I wasn't organized last year, so I can't be organized this year. We're done with that. Remember, we left that back here. Your past is not writing your future. What if helps you kind of put that away and just say, what if I can level up? What if I could think about school in the way that, like, yeah, school matters because unfortunately it is one of the major ways that you are judged for future opportunities like college, scholarships, and jobs. So do you need good grades? For a lot of things you do. And yet, don't beat yourself up if you get a few bad grades as you're learning these strategies because, hi, hello, they're not who you are. Grades don't show that you're a great brother, or grades don't show that you are really good at tending to the garden. All the things that make you the human wonderful don't technically show up in grades. What grades show is how many points you collected by how much work you got done. And unfortunately, that's kind of most classes the way it's going to go. So you can spend your time being mad at the system, or you can find some ways to play the school game a little bit easier. And that's what we're doing tonight. So mindset tool number 1, studenting versus smart, totally different. And we can make some hacks to make studenting easier. Mindset tool number 2, what if? What if this was a brand new year and you learned in the strategy playground?
Sarah, really quick, your I don't know if it's the volume, but somebody mentioned that it's a little bit difficult to hear you. But yet I'm coming out clear when I speak.
Yeah, you know why? Because this dingling was nervous. And
Is that better?
Oh, yes, I would think so. I don't know if that, but yes, that came off totally clear when you did that.
Yeah, I apologize. It's because it's so cumbersome. I unplug it at times and then forget to plug
Oh,
it back in.
awesome. And then
Okay.
I don't know, Sadie, I thought it looked as though she had unraised her hand, but then re-raised her hand. So I'm not sure if she does have a question or a comment.
Sadie, are you still able to unmute, Sweet Pea? Do you want to ask?
Yeah, I couldn't understand a lot of the things that you were singing because of like they whether glitched out and I couldn't hear them, or I just didn't know what they meant.
You know, I really appreciate your bravery to say that. So, here, I'll be really quick with like a quick, easier way to understand it. Okay, Sweet Pea? Okay. So, you know how you have a super smart brain and you have great problem solving, right?
Right.
Right. But sometimes paying attention in class for a really long time, like your brain goes somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that it's very different. Being very smart doesn't always mean that school is easy. Isn't that tricky?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first part. And then the second part, my love, was what if? Like, what if this fourth grade year for you is so different and new? What if, wait, fourth or fifth, Lovey?
What?
Are you in fourth? You're going into fourth, right?
Yeah, I'm going into fourth.
That's right. So what if this fourth grade year is brand new and wonderful? What if you don't run into those mean girls at all this year? What if will make you feel so much better?
Yeah.
So that was the second part.
Okay.
Okay. Do those two make sense to you now, Lovey?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Way to go. I really appreciate you raising your hand and asking that clarifying question.
Okay.
High five you. All right. Mute again, Sweet Pea. So, but please raise your hand again if you need another help. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So thank you, Sadie, for the quick review. That was so super helpful. And we're going to get right into brain chemicals. So at the beginning, we were talking about how there are ways to impact your neurochemistry. So neuro, like nerves, chemistry, like the chemicals that go around in your brain. And the idea is you can engineer your school experience on purpose to give you more of the building blocks for focus juice in your brain. Because what we know about a lot of people with executive function issues, or especially something like ADHD or autism, what we know is there's like a difference in the focus juice that you have. So maybe it's that your brain sucks up your focus juice if something's not interesting. Or maybe your brain kind of either the focus juice doesn't fit just right in the catchers in your brain, or the catchers are so good at catching your focus juice and holding on to it that it doesn't go around enough. Either way, focus juice is a big thing that we've got to pay attention to, and there are ways to get more. So one of them, and I'm going to challenge you to start thinking about it right now, even if you're not in school yet. One of them is to get yourself bathed in feel goods. So what I mean is start thinking about the things about school that do bring you joy and make a plan for connection. So think about the good things about school, like, oh, I kind of like the routine, or you know what, lunchtime is really fun, or I love the experience of being picked up after school by my dad, and sometimes we go to ice cream, or whatever it is that feels good about school. Start thinking about that on purpose, because that's going to start generating some dopamine. And dopamine is a really happy chemical in your brain that helps you feel excited about something. It helps you feel motivated. And dopamine is also the beginning part of norepinephrine, which is definitely focus juice. So it's a win. When you bathe yourself in feel goods, when you focus on purpose on what is great about school, it helps you feel motivated and it helps you focus better. Okay, isn't that cool? You're like doing brain surgery without opening your skull. Another thing we know about motivation and sort of like self-directed movement, like positive actions, is that feeling connected is a huge component of it. So find a way to, we're going to write to our teachers tonight. So that's one way, but also tap into your friends or see what kind of clubs you could join at school. Start thinking about making it a game to collect friends this year. Because when the school days start getting hard, which they will at some point, you'll at least have friends to look forward to and say, you know what, I get to see my best friend today. And that can be the motivation to get you through when you're having some tough times. Okay, so brain hack number 1, flood yourself with dopamine on purpose and connect on purpose so that the transition, the change from summer to school feels a lot better for your brain. Your next brain hack is to think of wins that you can have that are not related to school. Because remember, as you're learning to play the school game, learning involves a lot of fails, a lot of falls, a lot of get up, dust yourself off, try again. And you're going to also want ways to feel like you're winning at life outside of school. So let's set that up now. What are you going to do for your heart? What are you going to do for creativity? What are you going to do for sports or moving your body? Start thinking about that too, so that you've got a big menu of ways that you feel awesome without only having studenting be the one way. Because as we know, you can be very smart and have a hard time studenting. So why not give yourself lots of spots for rewards? We talked a little bit about the strategy playground, but I also want to challenge you to start thinking about ways that you can gamify school. And I'll just give you a few, but if you Google it, there's tons. So when you gamify really anything that you don't want to do, it helps trick your brain into like having a little bit of motivation. So I like to call it the attention ICU. And for kids, if you don't know, the ICU is part of the emergency room. So it's like a place you go for help. You can bring your brain to a place to get help with attention. But instead of doctors, the ICU means interest, connection, and urgency. And it's not on the slide, so this would be as those
Sarah,
things to give us more
you are
focus
frozen.
juice. So interest, obviously, feeling excited about something, finding something that you like about the class, about the teacher, about whatever it is. Connection, either connecting to something that you care about or to someone and noticing how your actions make a difference. And then urgency is like giving yourself small deadlines, or playing beat the clock, you can totally trick your brain into moving fast when it has like a timer on. Or you can give yourself imaginary points. Like, this is worth 100 points. Let's go. It's funny how what you can do to gamify, but that's just another way to start thinking about how to hack your brain this school year. And then another idea is to really know your accommodations. So accommodations is the fancy word for small changes that help your brain. So we talked about how being a student can be really tricky. And so accommodations make up for some of the differences in your brain, some of the differences in the way you learn. And those can be in an SST, a 504, or an IEP. All those words mean is like paperwork that the adults at school did to write down some good ideas to help you. So what you need to know is like the golden nuggets in those documents, because sometimes they mean extra time on a test. Sometimes it means extended deadlines. Sometimes it means that your teachers are just a little bit more understanding when maybe your brain spaces out, because that's your brain chemistry, and they'll have ways to bring you back without yelling at you. It's all good stuff in those. So kids, ask your grownups, can I see my 504, my IEP, my SST? And then really learn what are the things that your teachers can and should be doing for you so that you know what to ask for at school. And okay. I had an IEP growing up because I needed like different changes in my PE. And I was so embarrassed, you guys. Like, there's no way I would have mentioned to anybody that I had it. And so I understand if you're like, ew, Sarah, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk about my accommodations. But you've got ways to sneak it in without anybody ever knowing. And I can guarantee you right now that there are kids in your classes that have accommodations that you'll never even know because it's so low key. Teachers keep it so stealth. So what we're doing tonight, emailing your teacher, that's one great way to tell them about your accommodations, your small changes for your brain, without being like embarrassed in front of your friends, because nobody sees a teacher email except them. You can keep a list in your phone and just kind of look back at them and be like, oh yeah, I get extra time. And then maybe like privately talk to the teacher. Or you can email later when it's not in front of everybody. So you have options to do it without feeling embarrassed. And then the last piece of it, my loves, is remember we talked about how schools value like kids who are really good at playing the school game, schools tend to favor. Chances are you're a kid that's super smart but has a hard time studenting. So there's a potential for a clash there. There's a potential for friction. The idea is this letter we're writing tonight, which could be an email too, is going to endear your teacher to you. It's going to make your teacher think about, hey, I really understand this kid's brain. I know that they're trying their hardest. I'm going to help. Okay. So those are just a few things that you can do now to hack your school year coming up, to not make it be the past, make it be a whole new what if experience. What questions do you have for me?
Okay, so I was just typing to Tina right now. So let me see if I can go back. Give me 1 second. And then I'll come back to that one just to make sure I've seen everything. Everybody, participants who have been responding are grateful for the podcast links because they've subscribed. They're excited about the information they're going to receive from both of them. They're also excited about this being recorded so that way they can view it later along with their child as well. And then clarification for the link. So the link for the current webinar will be changed to the recording by next week, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Okay. And so that's what I've let them know, is that if you try the link, it will take you to this webinar because the recording hasn't finished yet and will be uploaded.
And you know what? I'll do my best after this. It takes a while to sync on the computer, but I'll try to get it done by tonight if you're urgent and excited about it, because I know I am too. So I'll do my very best, but if not, tomorrow at the latest.
And then I know someone mentioned, about IEP goals. So I wrote, I shared your link to your website. I am unfamiliar with the relationship you have with the participants here. So I shared the link to your website and just shared that you help with advocacy and coaching. So if they are interested in that, they can reach you through your website as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
And then the last one, which was Tina, I was starting to respond to her, and I'll also share the response in case anybody's wondering too. But Tina shared that she subscribed to the podcast, and then she was trying to explain accommodations to her daughter who is going into 4th. So what I was about to type to her was that, because I teach 3rd, and I've taught elementary for a long time, it's that accommodations are resources that help the student be successful in class. So that's the best way to describe accommodations. And then also too, what I was going to point out, since she is in elementary school, might be a good idea to inquire about accommodations for state testing. Because that's if any family member out there hasn't done that yet, definitely if any type of accommodations are starting to form in the elementary grades, now's a great time to make sure those are applied to testing as well.
100%. Yeah. And then you get the opportunity to practice them all year. So then when it's state testing time, you're like, oh yeah, I know how to use that.
And that's where we're at so far. So
Awesome.
great. Yeah. So yes, this was it. So go ahead.
All right. Okay. So everybody, it is time to write our love letters to teachers. So we have a link that Angela will drop into our Google Doc, and it will ask you to make a copy. So it will say, make a copy before you write in it. So you're just going to click on, yes, I'll make a copy. And that way it's yours. It's saved in your drive. I don't see it. You don't mess up the master document. Like, we're all good. So go ahead and click the link that's in.
Well, if Tina doesn't mind, since she's kind of been messaging, if she can just type me a question in the Q&A, and then that way I'll respond to, there we go. Oh, she didn't see the website. I will add that as well. Because I'm not quite sure how the participants see the Q&A, but I'm going to go ahead and respond to this with the link to the Google Doc.
Awesome.
Sorry,
Okay,
it looks a little bit different. I'm new to this backside, so.
I know. We've presented in so many different, like, Bizaboo and all kinds of webinar formats that, like, good old Zoom. What? Yeah, no, I get it. And I appreciate everyone. So we're using Q&A. So again, if you have questions, or you can either raise your hand and we can unmute you, or you can jump in the Q&A that way too. Okay. Or you can email me directly at sarah@sarahkesty.com. So it says Sarah Tasty in the writing below, right? That's capturing my speech, but that's definitely wrong. It's Kesty. Let's see if it gets it. There we go. Okay. So sarah@sarahkesty.com. That's fun. Okay, here we go. Okay, so everybody grab that link to the doc if you are on the video. And if not, I will have it for you at another bit.ly. So if you're watching this on the recording, the bit.ly for the Google Doc is going to be bit.ly. So bit.ly/Kesty letter. So Kesty letter, and that will get you over to the Google Doc, which if you're live, I have not set that up yet. So don't go there. Follow the link that Angela's putting in the chat right now. Okay. And if you can't get it right now and you just want to hang and watch and soak it up, that's a strategy too. So yes, there's power in doing it live, but you know what? If you just want to sponge it up and then go back, I'm going to give you some strategies to make sure you go back, because that's always the tricky part, but that's also an option. Okay. So why do we even need to do this? Right? Like kids who are watching, you're like, ugh, I'm already like sick of school and it hasn't even started. Well, here's the deal. Your teachers are facing two paths when you go back to school. When you struggle with studenting, so maybe when you forget your homework, or when you space out in class, when you don't have your materials, those are all legitimate needs that come out from like having a differently wired brain. And your teachers have two ways of looking at it. They can say, Charlie just doesn't care about class. Look, he doesn't have his iPad charged. Oh my gosh, what's wrong? I told you 10 times, Charlie, blah, 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 blah. They can respond with anger because of that behavior. Or they can say, man, Charlie, I'm so sorry. It's got to be so frustrating to not be prepared. And look, this like impacted you in class. What are your strategies to make sure that you charge your iPad tonight? How can I help you figure that out? Because they think it's a need, because they get that it's just a little bit tricky for you right now. Your teachers are always deciding, do I punish this? Do I help this? And when they understand you, they're going to choose the help route. They're going to look at you and be like, dang, that must be frustrating. Let's get you some solutions, rather than like, you're frustrating me. What's wrong? Can you feel the difference? And teachers like me and Angela, we're on the need side. We're like, hey, how can we hack this for you? But that's not every teacher. And so this is your chance to get the teachers to fall in love with you and understand your brain, which is why I called them love letters, even though obviously they're not. Your teachers, when they understand you, will also be flexible with you. So maybe they're like, psst, you can have an extra day on the paper. Or, psst, come here, I'll help you type that out. Okay? And they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. So when you become a goofball in class, they'll remind you like, yo, time to be serious, rather than send you to the principal's office. So even if you're like, ew, teachers, no, thank you. You have the chance right now to make your life so much easier coming up if your teachers know and understand you, which is why we're writing these letters. Okay. We're also going to give just a little piece of what works for your brain, so that even from day one, they've got an understanding of like, oh yeah, I can't sit the kid by the aquarium because it makes too much noise and it's distracting. Or, oh yeah, this kid might need to leave his pencil in my desk so that he always has one. Okay. We'll also make sure that they avoid what doesn't work for you. So I imagine the constant reminders or nagging or like embarrassment, not a thing for you, not something you want. So tell them now, so that you have the opportunity to not have those things go wonky in a couple weeks when you start. And then the last piece is, and I bet your parents are going to go, yup. There's a difference between having accommodations. Remember those small changes that work for your brain, like extra time, a different spot to sit. There's a difference between having a good plan and your teachers actually following the good plan. And that is why we're writing this love letter, because when your teachers know that you know your accommodations, they are much more likely to be like, hey, remind me what accommodations you have. Or they're more likely to be like, oh yeah, I need to plan for these. So that helps your teachers cross what I call the knowing to doing bridge. It helps them actually follow the plan rather than just going, okay, yeah, sure. Okay. What questions are there before we actually go into the doc?
Okay, give me 1 second again. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. There's quite a few. So let me, and these are great questions. Okay, so there was a question, and I'm sharing some that I responded to as well, just so you know what the back conversations are. So Tina mentioned that her daughter took the STAR test during summer school. So, and accommodations, she doesn't think the accommodations were met. So I responded that STAR testing is usually a district benchmark and it's very low stakes. I'm just gonna say, okay. And I said, plus I believe that the only accommodation that can be added to a STAR test, because it's a platform, so there's not a lot of flexibility with it, that it's just more time, is I believe what the only accommodation that can be added to the STAR test.
There's a bit more in terms of what's available, like back end stuff. So the teacher would have to reach out. But how about this, Tina? Will you email me more specifics and we can get down to nitty gritty in that? Because I want to make sure that we're using the time to co-write, but your questions are amazing.
Yeah. So, and then let me go to some of these, because some of these are really in depth. So I'm just going to let you know. So to preface, that one participant says, what if you only share the diagnosis with the IEP team, but don't want the kid to know just yet? I have a gifted kid with autism and inattentive ADHD going into 4th grade.
I have such good news for you. You don't need the label of the diagnosis at all for your kid. The way we're going to write this has the option to say a diagnosis, like right here, but you don't have to. You can just say, hey, I sometimes have a challenge with studenting. Okay, because sometimes the diagnosis isn't useful. Sometimes it's like distracting from, it like pulls in people's like preconceived notions. And so sometimes just describing, hey, this is what it's like to be me in a classroom is way more powerful than saying I have autism and then somebody thinks of Rain Man, right? So you have a way to kind of like circumvent some of the limited thinking that teachers may have by just saying like, yo, I got a brain that needs this. And that's the format for our letter. So you don't need to tell your kid just yet. You can just have them say, hey, I have a hard time studenting sometimes.
And so this kind of lends itself to that as well, because, and I get this, I teach general education elementary students, but I have been in plenty of IEP meetings, and it is difficult to wrap your head around IEP goals, and especially as a parent. And so, parents are saying, I need a little bit more help with these, with the IEP goals. And because there's some like the struggles. So like struggles with the student getting her written thoughts down, which I can totally relate with what she's expressing here. Orally is fine. I've seen that a lot of times with students. She's given extra time, but then still struggles to do her work in class. So this I've seen, I don't want to say common, but I've seen this a lot with many students, even at the elementary level. And I think, and I'm just going to say for Sarah, like, I know a lot of these parents, like she said, email, you definitely email a lot of these responses. And I believe these are shared with Sarah as well.
They are. Yeah. I'm just
okay.
checking them over right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are all really great questions. I want to make sure that, gosh, you've been doing a great job, Angela. You have 30 questions answered. Yes, I do have a whole bunch of accommodations, Ryan. So definitely email me. I'm not making promises that my own executive function will remember all of this. So I'm putting it to you as a challenge to follow up with me, because I will follow up with you if you show up in my inbox. But this very full brain of mine has been coaching since 7 a.m. my time, and I go till 8 today. So. All right, we're going to move on to letters, and I so appreciate the questions. So again, Sarah@sarahkesty.com is my email, and it's absolutely my pleasure to help out. It's definitely my passion if you haven't gathered that already. Okay, let's roll, my people. Okay, before we start writing, and obviously your answers are going to be different. So when you are working in your own document, you are going to fill out what applies to you, take away what doesn't work for you. This is not like the best example. This is just a really simple way to do it. Although I will say you have flexibility except for the bullet points. Do not go to paragraphs. Dude, teachers are so overwhelmed right now. Bullet that information and pare it down to 3 to 5 things per section. And then you can add on later. You don't have to paint the full history right now. Get it down to the things that will help in the first month or so, and then we can add on. Okay. So yes, you have flexibility, but don't turn this into paragraphs. Okay. Before we start, I want to show you something really cool. If you are a human who hates writing, you can get the job of writing done without actually typing. So if you go to tools, and by the way, Angela, my screen is now showing the back to school letter, right?
No, I see your PowerPoint.
Oh no, hang on. Let me pop right over here. Okay, now?
Yes.
Yay, glad I checked. Okay, so bonus is speech to text. So if you go up to tools, inside of Google Docs, it's called voice typing. Inside of Microsoft Word, it's called something else, but it's the same idea. You click voice typing. And then under normal circumstances, you can click to speak and it will type. And as you can see, it didn't get me perfectly, but it captured my ideas. So if you wanted to write this letter with your voice and then go back and clean it up, oh my gosh, what a cool tool. And Ryan, you were asking, like, throw back to 2 minutes ago when you asked about accommodations. This is called speech to text, and this is a great accommodation. And if your brain is saying, wait a minute, that's cheating, it's not really writing, let's think about what writing's for. Writing is for expressing your ideas in written form. This is that. So you can use voice to text to get your writing done this year. How rad is that? Okay. And it's available across all kinds of platforms. This is just one example. So there we have it. And I know we scheduled for about an hour, but then we had such great questions and a couple of tech bumps in the road. So if you're able to hang with us for a few more minutes to get the letters done, we'd love to have you. And if you've got to peel out because you're East Coast and it is now 9:30, we love ya, and you can catch the rest on video. But if you're hanging with us, let's roll. Okay. Pertinent questions before we go, or no? We're good. Okay.
Keep going.
All right. You're like, hurry up.
Oh, no.
Just kidding.
Not at all.
Okay. Okay, my loves. Obviously, the hi so-and-so, this is where your teacher name goes. If you are planning to send just one email to all your teachers, if you have a couple, like if you're in middle or high school or even college, you can just say, hi, teachers. But if you have a teacher that actually is just one teacher, put the name in there. So I'm going to use Angela's name, Mrs. Barnett, in there. That's more respectful. Okay. But I want you to know, you do not have to write this letter 6 times if you have 6 teachers. Copy and paste, baby. Or send one email to everybody. Technology is in your favor here. Okay, my name is, obviously, I'll be in your blank class. Go ahead and change those for you to make them match what you need. Then we're going to do kind of the way teachers like, where like you're nice and sweet before you get down to business. So, hi, how are you? Hope you had a good weekend, that kind of thing. I know that some of you are probably like, ugh, small talk or like chat before, just gross. Just tell me what you need, but you got to let that go. Part of studenting and playing the school game is to butter up your teachers, kind of warm them up, which means asking about them or sharing about you. So in this case, we're just going to tell them how you're feeling. So I'm feeling excited about starting the school year, or I'm feeling nervous, or I'm feeling a mix of nervous and excited. Nothing you put there could be wrong because it's your feelings. And the I bet you are too still sticks because teachers are also having mixed feelings of kind of great, kind of awful. Okay. So you're just going to put that part in how you're feeling. Okay. The next part is put in sideways letters in italics because it is your choice. So if you want to copy this sentence and just add it in, great. Or you can change it. What is it that you like about school? What makes you a cool student? And you might not have time to write it right now. So maybe as a strategy, highlight it so you know to come back to it. And here's the next part. You're going to tell your teachers about your brain. And you can be open and say right away, hey, I have ADHD. I'm a human with autism. Or if you're not comfortable with that, you could just say, I have some challenges with executive function, or I have some challenges with being a student. I have some challenges with studenting, and then explain what that means. So this means that sometimes my brain spaces out even when I'm trying to pay attention. Okay, that's just one example. Or this means that sometimes I need some extra help, or I go to RSP or the Learning Center or something like that. Okay. You don't have to share anything that's uncomfortable sharing, but it does help your teacher understand, oh, when they're spacing out, it's not because they don't care, it's because they might need a little boost. Okay, so remember when we talked about your teacher has a choice of blaming you or helping you, this is the way you get them to help you. Okay, here's where, so you just barely talk. Here's why I'm a good student. I also have some challenges. Here's how my challenges affect me. And this part, you probably won't have time to write with me tonight. So highlight it as a strategy to come back. And maybe as a strategy, you're just taking a couple notes of what you want to share. Maybe you're writing along because you're inspired. There's no right or wrong way to do this as long as you're starting to think about it. Okay, we have 3 sections to go, and these are kind of easier. We're going to talk about my brain needs. Oh, sorry, there's 4 sections. I do best when. Things that definitely don't help me. And the accommodations that I get. And if you're a kid that doesn't get accommodations yet, go ahead and erase this part. Okay, let's go back up to I have a brain that needs. I have a brain that needs is a great way to get your teachers to understand what you need without feeling embarrassed because it's your brain, not you, the human. It's a really powerful way to start thinking about it. And saying brain reminds your teachers that it's not you being a naughty monkey that's like causing trouble. It reminds your teachers that you have a differently wired brain. You have different chemicals going through. And because of that, playing school is tricky. So again, it puts them in the what do you need perspective, which is where we want your teachers. So sorry, I just realized I clapped very close to the microphone. So I hope if you're on headphones, I hope that I did not just cause some hearing loss. Okay. My brain needs. These are a couple of ideas. These are really common with brains with executive function needs. And maybe some of them match with you and maybe some of them don't. So you get to go through this and decide, what do you want your teacher to do for you? What does your brain need? Do you need a quiet space or do you need some music while you work? Do you need breaks when you're feeling a certain way? Or do you need a break at your desk rather than leaving? Is there a different way to show your learning? So a chance to show my learning by talking or acting or drawing, things like that, that maybe aren't necessarily like a bubble test. Maybe your brain needs an understanding teacher or to hear directions a couple of times, or maybe even to see directions rather than only hear them. That's okay. That's what your brain needs. Another one is to make sure that your teachers check in with you and say, okay, this is the part where you really need to be here. And that's called catching your attention. So maybe like, do I have your brain? Okay, here we go. Those things can be helpful. And then I imagine you have your own ideas. So I'm going to highlight my advice here though. Pick 3 to 5 things in this section. Okay. You're not trying to overwhelm your teacher. You guys have plenty of times. You have 180 school days if you're in California, probably about the same around the country in the United States. Got 180 school days to like learn each other. Just hit them with your top 3, 4, or 5 things for each category. Okay. We're not trying to overwhelm anybody. What questions are you wondering about what your brain needs?
So I want to jump in real quick. One of the participants wrote, and this is so awesome. My son read your 4 headings and said, I'd like to add another category that says my body needs. As a way to highlight some of the physical challenges. And then he said, this is an incredible insight. Yep. Self-awareness for him, and says he's very thankful for this opportunity.
I am so stinking proud of you. Wow. Okay. You just got like 1,000 bonus points from me. High five you. Oh my gosh. That's great. It actually gave me the chills. Gotta be totally honest. So let's do that. Let's add my body needs. I have a body that needs. Awesome. You're totally right. Because if you have a body that needs to wiggle, your teacher needs to know that, right? Or if you have a body that needs like a little bit of pressure to feel regulated, your teacher needs to know that. Those are awesome ideas. Well done, you. All right. So yeah, that's a great example of making this your own. So if you're watching right now and you're like, can I steal that idea? The answer is yes. Do it. So I have a body need that needs to move around a bit. I have a body that needs to stand up sometimes. I have a body that needs lots of space from others or close space to others. There's no wrong answers, but you're just giving your teacher a heads up to say, you know what? I know what works for me. Please help me get this. Awesome. Look at that. Okay.
So, really quick too.
Sure.
There's also another participant who mentioned that they had already started school, and this is a 4th grader, and asked, do I still send this as though it's from the student who's in 4th grade, or to send as a parent since school has already started? Side note, there was an incident, I don't know what it is. And I said, personally, coming from elementary, I said from student, I think would be the best bet. And it doesn't matter if school has already started. And then I even recommended, since the week's almost over, Monday might be a good like fresh start
Yeah.
versus the day after. So that's just my personal experience that I wanted to share as an
You're not
elementary
too late.
teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never too late.
My nieces started on yesterday. So this would be, you would just kind of change the I'll be in your class to just take that out. Like, hey, so if you are a person who already started, you could say, I really want to tell you more about me so we have a great school year. Okay. So if you've already started, use this sentence. It's never too late. And I will tell you too, since these are love letters and we're trying to really get your teacher to fall in love with you and understand your brain, put a little chocolate with it. If it's not an email, if it's a letter, and sign it with your own handwriting. You can type it and print it, but then sign it. You will like boop, 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 boop. You know how in like Mario Brothers, he gets bigger and bigger and he's stronger. That's what you'll do in the teacher's brain, because they're like, oh, this kid cares. Look. Teachers are humans. Okay. I think, just for clarity and time's sake, this probably is starting to make sense, right? You're just introducing the teacher or yourself to the teacher, making them fall in love with you and understand your brain. And then you're telling them, hey, these are the things that work for me. So I have a brain that needs, I have a body that needs. I do best when you can tell them what you have. Maybe it's a fidget to hold. Maybe it's extra time. Maybe it's a chance to move. You can tell them where you like to sit. If you're in elementary school, where you like to sit on the carpet, where you like to sit. Do you like to sit close to the front, away from distractions? If you're in middle or high school, do you like to sit like within a group, on your own? Tell them now, because they're making their seating charts and they can adjust them if school's already started. I do best when you remind me of things. This sentence, I have a chance to learn the skills I'm missing. I would encourage you to consider putting that in your 3 to 5 things, because that really speaks to that mindset. And then I bet you have your own ideas too. Okay, so like I said, these don't even have to be perfect sentences or full ideas. Just give them a taste, a little like piece of the cake of you, so that they start moving forward. You can choose to include things that don't work for you also, because let's face it, sometimes things are not effective. Like I know for a lot of the people that I coach, getting on them or like yelling at them or shaming them or why can't you just, or you should, that doesn't help anybody. So reminding teachers like, don't waste your time with this, it's not going to work, can be really helpful for you. Okay. So I would say adding in that you don't want to lose your grade points because of things that your brain has a hard time with. So this would be a good one to add. Okay. Maybe you're a kid who likes to work in groups. Maybe picking groups is so stinking hard that it's like futile. So either I have a brain that needs help picking a partner. That could be one. Or I have a brain that's really, really fast at partner work and I prefer it. There's no right or wrong way to have your brain. It just is, right? Okay, so as we're writing these together, you're thinking of good ideas. I'm going to pop into the questions and see. Copy and save.
So one of the participants had questioned and said, why is it better to send the letter from a point of view of a student and not a parent? Obviously, the parent is the one physically sending it. And so my response was, as a teacher who would receive this letter, the idea is to build a relationship with the teacher, because the student's with the teacher all day, every day. And yes, the parent is sending the letter, but the student can help write it because the teacher will be working with the student. And it's a good idea that and again, this just comes from me working with students who do have IEPs, that there's a common language when a teacher is working with a student. Oh, I noticed in your letter that you needed X, Y, and Z to help you be successful. What is your need right now? If you're struggling right now, what is your need? And you want your child to be able to communicate that with the teacher.
I 100% agree. And plus, we're having the teacher endear themselves to the child. Like, I have the chance to help you rather than, oh, your mom told me I have to. It's a very different feel. It takes it from compliance, like top down, like this mom is telling me what to do. And instead it's like, wow, this kid's got some self-awareness. This is pretty cool. So it changes the tone. And plus, just the process of doing this, of reflecting, like, oh, brains come in all different kinds of flavors. And you can raise your kids' self-awareness to know what works for them. And then they're much more likely to use the accommodations that are available, or they're more likely to self-advocate, to speak up for themselves because they are feeling like better in their own skin, knowing like, oh, this is my brain. So it's helpful to like improve the relationship, like Angela's talking about, make the teacher understand them better, and raise your child's self-awareness. So, and I know like some of the younger grades don't have their own emails, but after about 3rd, 4th grade, it's okay to get your kid a Gmail. And there's lots of different ways to kind of kick in with that internet safety stuff so that you don't have to worry about that. But it's a great opportunity for them to have an email connection with their teachers, let's say, like to answer questions after hours or things like that. So that could be a solution to just kind of route it straight from your kid, or print it and have your kids sign it, or even like decorate it or something. So that's just a variety. I did see from Maria, she's like, could you please make this cool for teens? Okay. Maria's 16-year-old son. Here's the deal. Do you want free bonus points at school? They come from your teacher falling in love with you. And they come from your teacher understanding you, because all high school teachers have these like invisible expectations of you're 16, you should be able to, but yet sometimes you don't know how yet. So having a teacher who gets your brain means that they're not going to dock you points because you can't do something yet. And they're going to be way more chill about the times where you have some struggles, because they know that it's your brain chemistry, not you, the human, being a big turkey. So even if you're not real hot on teachers, they're like not your thing, writing this letter helps make you have a much easier school year, which then means you have more free time. It means you have more trust from your parents. It means that your grades are better with less effort. And that can open doors in the future where people pay you to go to college, because that's a thing. So I hope that that kind of gets you to realize like, this isn't dumb. Yeah, it'll feel super cheesy. Like this whole process is pretty cringy, right? But it's still a great opportunity to sort of like hack the system. This is kind of like a cheat code to play the game of school. All right. I hope that helps. And I'm going to show you the very last section. So we need to definitely add the accommodations to the letter, because your teachers might not know your accommodations for almost a month to 6 weeks into the school year. And that stinks. And that's definitely a problem with the system. But the reality is, the people who are the bosses of the paperwork, like the people who do the 504s and the IEPs, they often don't get them until several weeks into the school year, and then they have to send them out to the teachers. There is a big delay between when the teachers find out about accommodations and when the school year starts. It's like a month to maybe almost a month and a half. You get to shortcut that and tell the teachers, here's what helps me right now. And here's what is legally my right, and helps the teachers kind of get in line with that faster than waiting around for the paperwork to come to them. Because in a month or 6 weeks, guess what? They may have already skipped accommodations because they didn't know. And then they're going to get a whole stack of 20 something accommodations, like 20 kids if they're in middle or high school, or maybe 10 or 12 if they're in elementary school. They can't memorize all that. So giving them a heads up helps make sure that you get what you need from jump and you don't wait for that paperwork to make it there. So that just means you tell them your 3 to 5 favorite accommodations. And I gave you some of the examples. So extra time on assignments and tests. Maybe like Sadie, you get assistive technology where you have something to help you, like a pen that reads tricky words for you, or you get to use speech to text. Maybe you have where you sit in the classroom as your accommodation. Tons of ideas here, but you pick your top 3 to 5 and add them in right now so that, hey, we got it. Okay. And then the very last part, you say, hey, teacher, I know you're busy. I appreciate you. See you soon. And then you sign your name. It looks like a big letter. I get it. But also, you have the opportunity to make it yours. And remember, each section's only 3 to 5 things. So it will shrink up and be like a 1-page document that you then share with your teachers. All right. I know that you're answering questions. Anything else do you suggest? You can copy and paste the IEP accommodations if they're all like top 3 to 5. If not, you can say, hey, heads up, I've got an IEP. Here are the things that really work for me, and my IEP has the rest. Okay. Yeah, definitely rewrite the letter to if you've had the teacher before. Okay, I'm going to switch back to our love letters right here. Okay, I sure appreciate the questions. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're ending with a plan and a promise, because I need to help you get over the bridge between knowing and doing, right? Because probably right now your brain's pretty full. It's getting late. If you're on the East Coast, it is definitely late. And knowing all this stuff is great, but doing something with it, that's where you affect change. So my coaching questions for you are, when will you finish this letter and email, and specifically commit what day, what time, not later, not tomorrow, not this weekend, Saturday at 2. Okay. Because we know things that are actually scheduled are multiple times more likely to happen. So when will you finish it is different than when you will send it. Maybe those are on the same day, maybe not. So make a plan and a promise right now. When will you send this? Will you finish it now and then maybe send it the Wednesday before school? So those might be different. They might be the same day. And then the last piece, this coaching question is, how will you remember? How will you remember to do these things? Take it from knowledge to action. Okay. And one idea is notifications. Another idea could be a visual prompt, like put a sticky note on your mirror. Another idea could be like, hey, we're going to put it like the printout smack in the middle of the table so we can't avoid it. Lots of different ways to remember. I would definitely put some notifications in whatever calendar you have. Okay. And then the last little bit, whoops, my next appointment's popping up. I don't know if you guys can see that. The next little bit is if you want to join our podcast mailing list, I do not spam. I send about once a month, maybe a couple times a month if there's something cool like TFOS going on. But this has executive function resources, podcast links, free events, all kinds of things for parents and students. So bit.ly join team Kesty will take you there, and we'll drop the link in the Q&A as well. And then you can just sign up and get all that stuff. And I'm going to be making monthly webinars that are free like this, just to help give back and empower people with tools for executive function. So September, we're going to talk about up-leveling habits, because probably you'll be fading down to like, this is too hard, I'm tired. So we're going to think about like getting those back up. In October, we're going to come in costume if you want, but we're going to do grade autopsies. Whoa. November, we're going to do those grade checkups because it's not too late, but that's probably where we need to kick in with some strategies to improve grades. And then in December, we'll talk about how to study for finals, or if there are other more pressing needs. I left that one open for flexibility. Okay. Whew. Are your brains full? Mine is. What question do you have before we go?
So I'm not seeing anything just yet, but if anybody has any questions or comments. I didn't know if that was a thing or if it was only grade school. Oh, so one of the participants asked if they can write a letter to college professors. And I said, you can write a letter to any instructor. They're a teacher. They have accommodations in college. I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that they do follow that, right, Sarah? I don't know how much you know about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what it would be is you could write the accommodation, you could write the letter and then have it accompany your accommodations letter from the disability support services. The process is a little bit different in college. So you actually go to the department. They might call it like the accessibility department. They may still call it the disability support, which stinks, but just for the connotation. But whatever it is, you'll find the building and the people who run it, and you'll talk to them about what works for your brain. They'll type up a letter and email it to your professors. They'll also give you a copy. And that's your opportunity to kind of make your love letter and put it on top of the accommodations letter and be like, hey, here's this. Because college professors are humans too. They need to have a way to like love and understand you. And that's a great way to get them to more likely follow the accommodations and not give you friction about it. Because unfortunately, because professors are also humans, sometimes they're like, no, I'm not doing that. And they can be real stodgy about it, which you have recourse. It's the law, they have to. So don't worry about that. But you reduce the chance of having them be grumpy with you if you kind of like introduce yourself and beat them to it. So yes, absolutely. I know I talked about, 4th grade through high school, but college, 100% yes. Great questions. The podcast, Sandra, the podcast is to parents first. So the first chunk of it is like empowering you to raise up executive function in your kids. And I try to blend examples from like kindergarten, 1st grade, all the way through up till high school. So you've got that. In college, it still applies. Actually, I have several college specific episodes. And then at the very end of the podcast, I talk directly to kids to give them a pep talk related to the executive function skill. So you can listen to it from together, like maybe driving to school. And then the last little bit is dedicated to the kids. Awesome. Oh, good. I'm so glad that the resources are helpful. From a teacher perspective, would it be best to receive a letter from a middle schooler? Absolutely, yes. send it a couple days before school starts, Ryan, because the way the pattern is teachers go back on campus a couple days before school starts. And that would be the time when they're setting up their classrooms that they would see the email and be like, oh, cool, look at this. Ryan's kid really cares about his education. So give them a couple days to process it. Jen, oof, you and me both, sister. Email me so I can hit you specifically with, Jen's question is like, the 504 is pretty lackluster, and I have the feeling that it's also probably not entirely well enforced across the board. So email me, I've got some tips for that. Awesome. Okay, I'm just scanning to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I know it's getting late, guys, so you're absolutely no offense taken if you're like, I gotta peace out. Awesome. Okay. Kurti, good luck with the 504 paperwork. I know that is a daunting task. You are strong enough to do it, and you can expect some bumps in the road, but that's why you have people like me and like Seth Perler and like Angela who are really here to help give you an insight to like the backstage school perspective. Okay. Guess. Oh, Kristen Teed. I know he refused to me too. Colin, write your letter. He's going to kill me for that one. That's too funny. All right, people, we are going to end our webinar. It has been an absolute delight to have everybody here. Thank you for all the good questions. And again, if you need to reach out, it is Sarah at sarahkesty.com. All right, I'm going to stop the share.